Hi, and welcome back for another daily dose of anime recaps. In this episode, we'll be covering the whole newly released anime, Exception. Sit tight because this one is full of surprises. The souls of 4 humans are transferred into new bodies and made to find a new planet for humans to live on. Thus, the team of 4 must work together to not only find the perfect planet, but to also make it worthy of living for humans. However, the challenges and twists they face while making their way towards the new planet is something you could never have expected. Before we begin, don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit the bell button so you never miss an update from us. The first episode really catches our attention when we are met by the scene of a woman who wakes up in a glass cylinder filled with some type of water. Regaining her consciousness, she dresses up and leaves the room, but stops to pick up a falling feature right in front of her feet, which makes no sense since she is in outer space and on a huge spaceship as well. The woman, whose name is Nina, gets a full-body check where the system checks that all her senses are in proper working order, from head to toe, and even her emotions and mental capabilities. It seems that she is normal and exactly what you would expect from a new body, the representation of the perfect human being. Nina makes her way outside and finds Mack, another person who has been printed into outer space as a human and is pretty much getting used to his new body as well. The two have tea in a nice-looking area and discuss how they still have their original memories but not the same bodies. During their discussion, Oscar is printed. Ah yes, another person who has been reincarnated into a new body. Oscar is quite the carefree type who just wants to enjoy a bit before they get down to more work. Meanwhile, Mack is impatient to start right away before the migrant vessels get there. But alas, Oscar reassures him that the migrant vessel won't reach for another 100 years or so, and not even humans can travel through subspace yet. Patty has arrived, or in other words, has been printed. The group of 4 meet to discuss their destination, which is planet X10, that has been chosen as a new place for humans to live. During their discussion, the spaceship gets hit, but a strong electromagnetic wave, a flare by the sun, which shakes them up but thankfully leaves no damage. Mack checks on the spaceship from outside and everything is clear, but when Nina checks the printing room where their friend Lewis is supposed to be printed, she is in utter shock. The flare has left its mark and Lewis's body has been deformed and is unconscious. The group make the hard decision to dispose of him, but Patty isn't in agreement since it is the murder of a soul, but finally agrees. Nina gets ready to dispose of Lewis, who we now can see doesn't look human at all, but more like a monster. She gets ready to administer the sedatives, but Lewis gains consciousness and grabs her arm to prevent her. The two get into a heavy tussle, which ends in Nina being killed and the room being set on fire by Lewis, who makes a run for it. Patty and Oscar keep Nina's lifeless body in the pod and wait for her to be printed again in 30 minutes. Mack brings out a sharp rod to put an end to Lewis, better him than them. The following morning, Patty wakes up and goes through her Polaroids of pets and plants, which give comfort to her and remind her of home. Mack and Oscar check up on the shop and see that everything is in order. Mack, however, finds out where Lewis has been hiding, and it is Area H, which he tracked through the sensor logs. Nina has been resurrected and records the previous day's event of her murder and Lewis's strange and barbaric behavior. Mack explores Area H and goes down a dark flight of stairs where he reaches a dead end and finds on the wall written with blood, "Help me." The sign tracks back to Lewis, and this is also a clear indication that he may be half human, who is in need of help. The group decides to capture and interrogate him instead of going right for the kill, which makes Patty very happy. Nina and Patty go through Lewis's scans and find out that he is half human and half a monster. Nonetheless, they still decide to help him, but their idea is cut short when Oscar and Mack run frantically towards the control room and tell that the food in the mess hall is gone. The mess is the doing of Lewis, who greedily devours everything, putting their lives in danger. We also find out the reason they left planet Earth to find another home was to gain independence from a certain entity that had invaded their home. During that time, Lewis attacks the control room where Oscar and Nina are situated, but Mack comes to their rescue and fights off Lewis, critically damaging his leg, but also gets thrown off in the process. Patty witnesses the frightening features of Lewis, who throws her away as he tries to escape. Mack and Patty are nursed back to health, and this time Mack is determined to kill Lewis. Nina reassures Patty that they must do the deed for the sake of their survival, otherwise their efforts would be for nothing. But an idea hits Patty, who prints out a butterfly necklace. Mack, on the other hand, sets up a trap in a room where he captures Lewis, shuts all the gates, and decreases the oxygen levels before dropping a pipe pile of boxes over him, but that doesn't stop Lewis, who pounces on Mack and almost kills him before Patty enters the room and shouts at Lewis, showing him the butterfly necklace. The necklace brings back his memories and he calls out Kate, the girl he loved, before escaping into a corner of the ship. Drones are sent to Planet X to find traces of water, and luckily for them, they manage to find it. The hunt for Lewis has started again, with Mack and Oscar searching every nook and cranny but Area H, but are unable to find him except for a small piece of a message on the wall left behind by him saying, "Want live," seemingly showing us that he wants them to give him a chance to live. Moving forward, Oscar is given the task to repair an area in the sewage treatment, and while doing so, he loses his footing and falls all the way down into the sewage. In the control room, Mack, Nina, and Patty are busy thinking of different ways to make life worth living on Planet X-10. Nina has also been tasked with the job to print out a new body for Lewis. We are back to Oscar, who regains his consciousness, and we are much surprised over how he even survived such a fall. Nonetheless, he wakes up and sees his leg bandaged by none other than Lewis himself, who helps him get up and even pronounces his name properly after a bit of effort. It seems Lewis's verbal skills are bad, while his typing skills on the phone are relatively better. He helps Oscar out of the sewage and asks him for negotiations with the group, to which he agrees. On reaching the control center, Oscar is given first aid and he is surprised to see that a new clone of Lewis has been made, the better and normal Lewis. This is turning into quite the twist. Oscar tries to bring up the topic of the monster Lewis wanting a negotiation, but it seems the normal Lewis wants him dead and disposed of. The man just got printed and he's already in charge. Oscar communicates with him about the group's plans via the phone, through which the monster Lewis begs him for help and to make a way into the cooling area in room D, where he would make a pod and sleep in for many years. Oscar agrees to help him. The normal Lewis, on the other hand, senses his evil twin's motives and discusses it with the group that if they don't kill him soon, he would interfere with the terraforming and put an end to their mission. Time moves by fast as Oscar reaches room D and helps monster Lewis entering the cooling area, where he steals a bomb instead, which could blast the whole spaceship into dust. Oscar, frustrated and angry with himself, begs his comrades for mercy for believing the monster Lewis's lies. Mack is even more angry and goes as far as punching Oscar in the face. The normal Lewis stops Mack and uses this time to think of a way to settle things, since now the evil twin will use the bomb as his way to escape or at least bribe them. Bots are sent to Planet X-10 to get results for the soil, and it is ready for the growth of plants. However, it seems Patty and the others have zero energy or motivation to work since they feel they would die any moment. Oscar and Lewis enter a room, where they are presented with the statistics of the ship and are shown that the ship is running on 90% efficiency. Nina and Lewis also check up the drainage system to see if the monster Lewis is still lurking there with the bomb. While they search the drainage separately, Lewis sees a mobile device and picks it up to see that the monster Lewis tell him not to make any noise, and tells him that he wasn't the culprit behind the stealing of the RA bomb. Lewis gives him a chance and so doesn't talk about the conversation with Nina, and they both go back to the control center. The soil samples are here from Planet X-10, and it seems apart from a few issues, it's perfect for the growth of beanstalks. Lewis gets a message from the monster who tells him that there is a traitor amongst them, and even gives his location to make Lewis understand that he isn't wrong. Lewis reaches the monster's hiding place and sees that he was working on a cryopod and needed a cooling system. The monster tries to convince Lewis, but he retaliates and hits him, which results in the two fighting. The warning alarm is set off, making Mack reach the drainage location and help Lewis fight the monster. They capture the monster and tie him up. Mack and Oscar take great pride in beating him up to make him spit out the location of the RA bomb, but he doesn't budge. Thus, they are forced to search up the spaceship for it instead. Patty sits and tries to make the monster understand that she is on his side and not against him, but he doesn't listen. Lewis, in the meantime, locks up the other three members in a room and finally even Patty with them, telling them that he only trusts the monster and that a traitor is amongst them. We are taken back to the fight between Lewis and the monster, and are shown how he starts to trust him. The monster sees the butterfly necklace and remembers Kate, which makes Lewis believe his words and trust him. With Nina, Mack, Patty, and Oscar imprisoned in the room, the monster leaves to locate the RA bomb in the spaceship, which is pretty much asking a lot from him. The trap group discusses how they could trust Lewis and his evil twin, and they are telling the truth about a traitor being amongst them. Mack has pretty much lost his mind and is punching the door to make it break it down, but up to no use. Patty sneaks him a lettuce and whispers to him that she may know a way out of the room, but he needs to cooperate since they are being watched. The monster slowly becomes weaker and weaker for reasons unknown, and to make matters worse, both the Lewis get memories of the past where they had lost Kate in an accident. Shaking the images out of his head, Lewis gets back to observing the videotapes and finds out that the RA bomb was stolen even before the flare and when the monster Lewis was even printed. We also find out that someone has ordered the drones to shut down, using the Drone Master account, which only Oscar has access to, but it wasn't him. With a bit more research, Lewis finally captures the culprit, and it is Mack who they see doing the sinful deed. During that time, Mack escapes the room and makes his way outside. However, he is intercepted by the monster and they both get into a heated brawl, which results in Mack getting pinned down and taken to Lewis for questioning. So much for acting all tough. Lewis questions him about the reasons behind stopping the drones, but Mack doesn't budge, and only does once Lewis shows him his family's coat of arms, which finally forces him to talk. It seems Mack had his own personal reasons, as he has been deleting important information which he deems unfit, since there have been some areas unfit for humans to live on. This could most probably ruin their mission and even their chances to live on the planet, because of which he took this step. Mack is thrown into another room separate from others to stop him from ruining their mission, but he retaliates and says he can prove his innocence and is even willing to die for it. Nina is taken out of the captivated room and taken to a separate room where Mack has been imprisoned. The monster also leaves behind a deck of cards for the captivated members to play with and kill time. How very considerate. Thus, he asks Nina to break his components up and print him back, and if he is the imposter, then he would go directly to Area D where the bomb was kept earlier. Nina refuses to be the person to kill him, and this forces Mack to stand up and leave the room and moves directly to the womb. Taking his clothes off, Mack enters the womb and recalls how hard he worked to be accepted into his royal family and his mission on the spaceship to prove to his family that he deserves a place in it. With the hurtful memories, Mack gets swallowed up in the womb's water, and his bodily components broken down until his very existence also ceases. Mack is reborn, and Nina shows him around the spaceship like nothing has changed, and they haven't even landed on planet X-10. Mack has no idea that he is being watched, as he is taken on tour of the spaceship by Nina, yet he feels like someone is still watching over him. A few minutes later, Mack remarks how he feels like the spaceship's gravity is different and tilting on one edge. These observations freak Nina out, which also is what Mack notices. The time for the stealing of the bomb is gone, and it's safe to say that he isn't the traitor. Lewis announces that Mack has passed the test and Nina can tell him the truth, which she does. Lewis, along with the monster, also comes, and this sight scares the living daylights out of Mack, but calms down once he gets to know the whole scenario. He is also told that the planetary transformation is 90% complete as well. Oscar and Patty are pretty much busy playing a game of cards, but their little fun is interrupted by the monster who leaves Nina back in the room. While Lewis and Mack are busy devising a plan to capture the traitor, Nina loses her mind and points a knife at Oscar, saying she is innocent and hasn't done anything. The monster sees them do this and so rushes to stop the fight, but alas, he falls into their trap, and Nina plus Oscar both pin him down and lock him up. As the trio escape into the control center room, Patty notices the two working perfectly together and is a bit suspicious of how they are doing all of this without openly communicating. They reach the control center room and secure it. Lewis and Mack rush to the crime scene to find the monster back on his feet, but he says he heard footsteps in the other room when everyone was gone. Seems like there is another person amongst them. On inspecting Patty's room, they break down a glass cylinder and find a place similar to the womb where they were printed from. Patty, with a devilish and cunning smile, sees the data that Mack had previously erased and even goes as far as telling Nina and Oscar that she was the one who had planted the bomb on the atmospheric transformer. What was even more shocking was when a second copy of Patty appears through the door and produces a box with 4 eyes so they can seek the permission to make the spaceship fly and not be destroyed by the womb when it explodes. It seems it was all part of their plan to frame others while the two girls bring havoc to the whole spaceship. Nina and Oscar just stand and spectate the whole scenario of how the two girls change the controls and make way for the ship to take off and let the planet be bombed. The clone Patty explains her motives of being born before any of them, and using that opportunity to print all the crew members' eyes and steal the bomb. The reason behind this is even before the mission had begun, the company behind this had sent a drone ship to Planet X-10 and got such critical data that they could never share it with the public. However, Patty's company manages to decode the data, and they find out that Planet X-10 had living organisms in it, and humans would only kill them. For that reason, she was sent to ruin and put a stop to the terraforming operation. Lewis is forced to give in to the engineer's code for the sake of Kate, who would be lost if the whole spaceship blows up. Seconds clicking on the clock, Nina beats off Patty's strong grip and tries to escape. Patty instead goes straight for the attack and manages to critically injure Lewis with her knife. Lewis is rushed to the medical room where Nina caters to him. The monster and Mack are locked away in the bottom areas, but they plan to escape into a pod and try to stop the bomb from exploding in time. Lewis knows he doesn't have much time and tells Nina to do anything to stop them. Oscar, who we see now as a two-faced person, changes sides again and joins Patty's side, since it would guarantee his fame and to get back to his family. Nonetheless, Nina manages to escape the clutches of Patty and rushes back to Mack's room, where she uses his device to activate the drones and allow it to reach the spaceship and let Mack and the monster rush to the bomb. Nina also manages to beat Patty unconscious. In the medical ward, Lewis slowly falls into the afterlife where he meets Katie and tells her he would work hard to make the planet a home for the two of them, but sadly his soul doesn't come back on the spaceship. The spaceship has started to break and burst due to the malfunctions of the systems. Nina drags the unconscious clone of Patty into a pod so they can be flown into Planet X-10. Lewis, the monster, escapes the area he was trapped in with Mack and sees the lifeless body of Lewis floating and holding the butterfly necklace. Taking it with him, the monster tells Lewis he will complete the job. Patty, Lewis, and Mack all reach Planet X-10, whereas the other Patty with Oscar crash onto the planet in the spaceship. Patty's clone wears the spacesuit in Nina's pod and escapes towards the transformer and finishes the job before anyone else could reach the bomb. The monster, however, finds it difficult to move, with his body slowly losing power and health. He reaches the transformer but is stopped by Patty, who is more than ready to kill him off. Luckily for him, Mack comes to the rescue and the two capture Patty's clone and tie her up. They do try to force out the location of the bomb, but she doesn't budge. They waste no time and start searching. However, thanks to Nina, she overhears the girls talking about the bomb's location and guides the monster with Mack to get the bomb in time. Just when you think it's over, Mack and the monster get ready to fight the twin girls. The epic long battle goes on until finally Lewis the monster ties one of the girls' feet to the floating bomb, forcing her other half to grab onto her, and the two were taken away into space. Seconds before the bomb exploding, everyone takes refuge except for Mack, who stands proudly for his fate. The bomb bursts and everyone dies except for Lewis and Nina. After a hard-fought battle and a war that was not needed, Nina finally gets to plant the first sleep. Over time, Lewis's health further deteriorates until he also breathes his last. With Nina just on board, she alone starts up a whole new life on Planet X-10, and before her death even makes Lewis's wish come true by printing Kate's body. Kate comes into this new world, and to her, and of course to our own surprise too, we see Lewis, the normal Lewis, also approaching Kate, and the two are now happily back together in a better world. Will life on this planet be perfect for the future humans or not? Will Lewis finally find a way to print his friends out by fixing the printing machine? We'll find out in the next season of Exception, if they ever do make one. And if you are a subscriber with notifications enabled, you'll find out soon enough.